What's up, guys and girls? Hopefully you're having an epic day. This is video number 3. This should be a fun video because we're going to be doing a lot of painting. But right now I will jump straight on into it and I will start explaining what I'm doing. Bringing out my highlights. It's pretty easy. It's straightforward. I'm just looking at my reference picture and I'm just kind of, finding the parts that are super bright and I'm just kind of whitening them up. Not worrying about my overspray. I don't care about that because that actually is a benefit for me because I'm going to be adding my own black in later and it'll show up a whole lot better if I have overspray on the picture, because painting black on black, it's very, very hard to see. My camera won't pick it up. So I'm hoping, I'll have a lot of overspray on this thing, and when I go in with my black, it's going to show up really, really good for you guys to see. And I'm not worrying about a lot of my details because I'm going to be adding them later. So if you were to look at this as layer 2, the first layer would be fogging the whole picture over. And then now I'm just kind of, bringing out my highlights. What we're wanting, we're just kind of wanting to progress and, adding a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So stick with it. Don't give up, even if your picture is not looking the way you're wanting it to look like, because I've said that so many times about my picture. And then I just go ahead and just keep pushing myself to, finish it, and I'm glad I didn't give up because it's actually turning out the way I want it to. And just remember, layers and layers and layers, and the more you layer, the more three-dimensional it's going to look. So that is the reason why I like to reduce my paint down a lot, because this white that I'm using, it's not even anywhere close to being a bright, bright white. I have a lot of room to make it super, super bright. And that is my plan. That and adding the black in later is going to make my white show up even a lot more when I go in and I do that. Keep that in mind. Don't give up. Keep pushing yourself through, even if your picture is not looking the way you want it to, because I have said that so many times about my pictures. And I'm so glad that I didn't give up, because they turned out way better than what I ever would have thought they would turn out. I want to talk about my airbrush real quick. It is an Iwata Eclipse HP-BCS. It is a bottle fed with a 0.5mm needle. And a lot of people use these airbrushes for like shirts and clothing paintings and stuff like that, because they can just hook it straight up to the bottle and not even reduce it down at all, and they can just shoot it straight onto the shirt, because you're wanting to put a lot more paint into the shirt or your fabric of what you're painting on, just so you can heat set it and it won't come out in the washer. So that's what this airbrush is really, really good for. But for me, I'm just using it because I want to cover a large amount of areas really, really quick. And if I have to take a guess on how much paint I have in here to how much reducer I have in here, I would probably say it is around 1/4 paint and 3/4 reducer. So keep that in mind. That's how thin I run my white paint. And it varies between different kinds of paints and different kinds of colors, because some colors are thinner than others, some are thicker than others. So it all definitely varies. So just kind of keep that in mind also. But that is the mix ratio for my white paint right now that I'm spraying. All right, I want to take a break real quick and explain what we have so far. All we did is just put down a base white over the alien, just kind of misted them over. Then we kind of went in, added some of these highlights here. Nothing too fancy, nothing super detailed. We want to just keep it loose. So this is the rough draft that we got so far. Now I'm going to actually load up my black, and we're going to go in and we're going to kind of push back a lot of this overspray. And then that will add the depth and make it look like, it's a three-dimensional picture rather than two-dimensional picture. I want to talk about highlights and shadows real quick. this is a really good example. That is why I wanted to do the picture, because it's got a lot of hard edges on it to kind of give you that 3D look. And if you look right here on the gums, how you have it go from black straight to a hard edge and it's white, so it looks like it's got some depth right here. All I'm gonna do, it's a really easy thing. I just need my little stencil right here that I just cut out with leftover poster board, and when I add my black in my airbrush, all I'm gonna do is put the stencil right over top of the white, and I'm gonna spray black, move my stencil down, spray black, move my stencil down, and finish it with black. And then that is it. Now, after when I go through and I add all my shadows where I'm wanting with my black, when I switch back to white, I'm just gonna do that, but a reverse on this. So we're gonna do the white, just gonna put my stencil over, I'm gonna spray white, move my stencil down, spray white, move my stencil down, and finish it with my white. And that is going to give us the really hard edge that we are wanting. Okay, here we go. I got the black loaded in. I got my stencil where I want it to be. You just kind of move it around. You don't have to be perfect. If you get a little bit of your black overspray onto the white, it is totally cool, because we're going to go back in with the white and we're going to layer back over top of it and bring the white out even more. So don't stress about it. Keep having fun. And I'm just doing the same thing as before, just getting that hard edge, kind of rotating my stencil around, you know, switching it out to another one. That always helps if you have a couple different ones. I don't really use a whole lot of stencils, but on this one, I wanted to just to show you guys. And as far as my mix ratio for my black that I'm using right now, I would probably say 40% black paint and 60% reducer. Alright, I just did another example how I just used the stencil and just kind of covered up over the white, sprayed it black, kind of brought it down. I did the same thing with this and the same thing with this, because if you look on the picture and you got a really hard edge and then it goes into black, you got a really hard edge and then it goes into black. So that is why I went ahead and used my stencil here. And if you have any clogs in your airbrush on these bottle feed, here's a cool thing that I do, is if you pull back your trigger, it pulls back the needle, you put your finger in front of the nozzle and then you just push down. And then you just let off, and it actually pushes the air back down the bottle, mixes your paint around. So if you have any blocks or any clogs down through here, it'll unclog it and then stir your paint. Alright, as of now, it is starting to look a little bit better than what it was. All we're doing is just, you know, going in with the white, whitening it up, bringing out the highlights. Now we're just going back in it with the black, pushing back the overspray, getting some shadows kind of pushed in, and we're still going loose. We're not going anything dramatic. We're not looking for detail. We're just kind of using, you know, the stencil and just kind of running it around to kind of get some hard edges and stuff brought out. And, you know, that's pretty much it. You just got to practice, have your reference right near you so your eyes don't have to keep looking, because a lot of information will be lost if you have your reference too far away from your picture. So if you have it as close as you can, then it'll make more sense and it'll be a lot more easier for your eyes to jump back from one to another. And yeah, just keep having fun. That's what it's about. So if you look at the top part of his head, there is no real hard edges like we did with the gums down here. So I'm not going to use any stenciling over here. I'm just going to use just the black and just kind of fill this in as a shadow. I'm just going to let my overspray kind of drift over onto the white, and that'll give it so it's got a really soft edge between the white and the black, and I don't have, you know, a hard edge where it just goes from white to black like right away. So I will jump on that and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm just going over my pencil marks, so I'm just kind of fading them in just so they're not as bright and they don't stand out as much. But here coming up, we're going to lose this airbrush and we're going to switch to the finer detailed airbrush, and that's when it's going to get really, really fun. This right here, we're just using a couple layers just to kind of get the picture all tied in and looking good, and then we're going to come back in here later coming up and we're going to really get some of the details in there. We're going to go over it with my white gel pen and bring out a lot more of the highlights. Alright, let's do a recap real quick. All we did is just go in with the white, bring out a lot of these highlights here, all here, and then we switched to our black, kind of push back a lot of this white overspray here, just kind of use these stencils here that I just cut out from poster board. The next video that's going to be coming up next, I'm going to be switching my airbrushes. I'm going to lose the big thick needle and I'm going to go to the really thin detailed needle, and we are going to start darkening some of these shadows back in the back, up here on his gums, up here on top of his head. So if you look, we got a lot of dark area here and it's still pretty light up here. So we got to fix that. His gums here, as you can see, they're black. Up here you can still see they're white. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it here. So this is what we have so far. The next video coming up, I'm going to be loading up my black and we're going to be punching out a lot of these shadows up here and kind of getting it a lot darker than what it needs to be right now. And then I'm going to switch to my white, go in, I'm going to add up a lot more of this white, brighten it up, and then we're going to be using the gel pens, kind of bringing out a lot of these highlights really, really bright and kind of giving it a wet look, looking like it, you know, some saliva is dripping off down here and over here. And yeah, so we are probably a little less than halfway, and I just want to say thanks for sticking with me and watching and commenting and thumbs up, and that's super cool of you guys to do that. And I'm hoping that these videos are helping a little bit. I'm going to be doing a lot more here coming up, so I have plenty of time to cover a lot more. So if you have any questions out there, leave them in the comments, and we will see you coming up in the next video. So thanks for watching.